All right, this is James Pelton, and I am here live for an AMA for hybrid finance. So I'm excited to be here, and we have Zero X Solo as part of the team here to talk with us through the project. Again, I always like to bring on someone from the team just to kind of talk us through and tell us what's different, what's unique, what's on the roadmap, etc., etc., etc. I want to say hello to the audience again. So we have right off the bat, James is such a handsome man, and I was just the worst part of these is I took a nap earlier, and my hair, and then it's hard to fix your hair in your camera because it's reverse, and so yeah, it's not looking too bad though. So thank you very much. But yeah, if you're watching this, please do leave a like because again, that tells the YouTube has an algorithm what content is good, what content is bad. And if you watch it and don't like it, then they think, oh, it must have not been good enough to like. So if you want more people to see it, then please do drop a like. And I always like to start by just having everybody in the audience. This is more just for my enjoyment. But if you could just say where you're watching from, I just enjoy seeing it's just crazy to me how we can connect with people all over the world. Again, I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is the middle of nowhere. And it's just cool to talk to people from India and England and Australia, all kind of about the same thing. So, without further ado, we got somebody from Lisbon, Portugal. Very cool. The one of the crypto capitals of the world because of their favorable crypto tax strategies. And so that's actually, there's a lot of my colleagues that are moving to Portugal to help with crypto taxes. So, anyways, side note, tax day's coming up here in the US. So, had to get that out there. Anyways, so we have Zero X Solo from the Hybrid Finance team. Would you mind just kind of introducing yourself and give a little bit about your background?
Oh, I'd be delighted to. And for reference, I'm over in Ireland at the moment, so yeah, enviously looking over at the tax haven of Portugal and also the sun haven of Portugal. We get a lot of rain here, so
Yes.
we're pretty jealous. But yeah, I'm Zurich Solo. I do product development over at Hybrid Finance, so I'm building out. Um, Basically, my work really starts now, right? In developing what makes us different and pushing that out for you guys as a product and as a service. So one of our big things coming out soon, it will be actually a service, and that's my main role. There is building them and integrating them into the token, right? So that when you guys buy in the hybrid token, you're not just buying an auto staking, auto compounding token that we've seen so many times and we're continuing to see churned out onto the market, but you're buying into a whole different background of utilities that are going on behind the scenes to generate you sustainable, reliable, quality value, right? It's a pretty fun job. I got to say that, to be fair.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I got this one cowlick that really is bothering me. And we've got a lot of people. If you do have questions as we go in the audience, please do ask, okay? Because I'll show some of those, and we'll let Xerox Solo kind of answer those as we go along. Um, so can I ask first, are you a Titanofork, and why that? What's kind of the vision that you had in mind? And why'd you go that direction?
Yeah, I mean, the project has evolved considerably and continues to do so, and must continue to do so. Um, I really believe the answer to that question is now and no. Um, we are not really a Titano fork. Now, here's the tricky part, right? The contracts are very similar, and yes, we use them extensively, but we use them to basically distribute value to our holders because auto staking, auto compounding is amazing. It's a brilliant way to do it. Um, Doing it at a massive APY is not sustainable, right? We know this. Um, so we drop that down, and then really that's where the similarities end. We're not just a big fund that's sat there desperately trying to sustain itself. We're saying, all right, we're taking these taxes and these fees and we're putting them into different products that are then going to bring back 5, 10x returns back into the treasury, back into the sustainability, But also, as we'll kind of get on to talking about, we're going to be getting some really exciting different things going on in that treasury as well. So it's really just the way of distributing rewards and bootstrapping a little bit of excitement into our project. And now we can hit you guys with really, this is what hybrid is all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. I've thought about this with the node projects, the DAOs, and the Titano forks, is they're not really projects, they're more just tokenomics to do something else for a project. And so that's what you guys are kind of doing is you're using the Titano tokenomics a little bit, but you're actually doing something with it. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with the treasury? Or you talked about farming. What kind of things are you doing with that?
Yeah, we do a range of different things. So number one, as we were one of the big, I suppose, brainwave moments or light bulb moments we had is we were looking at a Titano and you just see these like massive amounts of money and you're just sitting there. And I know they're backing things, right? But they're just sitting there, right? And this is what Sphere did as well. They were like looking at liquidity and they're like, God, it's just sat there doing nothing. And we had the same idea with those big lump sums in the R3 and the treasury. So we said, right, first of all, let's get farming them because they're backing something. We can't just go out and spend them or, chuck them into the next startup and lose them all. But they should be working for the protocol. They should be working for the investors. So we farm 60% of our treasury stably, safely, looking at like 10 to 15% probably yield on those. And then 20% of the treasury is where things get way, way, way more exciting. It started off saying we're going to do some VC style or venture capital style investments, right? And it's built out to basically what we just finalized today, which is what we're almost definitely going to be calling an accelerator fund. And it's a brand new way of basically doing seed round investments. And we believe that it will completely revolutionize the way that small early stage products get all of their expenses paid all the way through to launch. And we're going to scale this up massively so that we've got so many more exciting ideas to come on top of that.
Okay, very cool. I'm actually really intrigued by that. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
I would love to. I've just spent all day building it. It's like, yes, you've asked me the right questions. So what we're basically doing is we're offering a system where you can post a bit of collateral, you can get a loan from us, and you're going to pay us back in your native token post launch. And what we want to do is automate this process almost completely so that, and to do that, we have to negate risk, right? We have to be able to have it so that it actually doesn't particularly matter whether the borrowing party succeeds or not. And that's how we can automate it. So what we'll be doing is you're going to post collateral and we're going to give you out a token that we create. This token has no liquidity. It is transferable, but to whitelisted wallets. We will partner with KYC companies, marketing companies, auditing companies, and they will accept our token as payment. So you get basically your $50,000 loan in that token, and you can use that only for launch expenses related, or well, development related expenses. And we plan to grow this out as much as possible so that all the big players in all fields are going to accept this, because once you pay them in our token, they just take that to our DApp and they can exchange that for stable tokens back. So those third parties, they get paid straight away. They have no risk. And you as a protocol have very minimal risk, providing you think that you're going to make it through to launch, which obviously you are, right? You're developing this. You just post your collateral, you get your loan, you pay your expenses, and then you pay that back in the native token, get your collateral back. At which point we're going to offer you the option. You can either pay us all in that native token. Now there's the downside to that we will be a whale in your project. Or what you can do is you can pay us 10% in your token, and you can pay us 90% in stables post launch. We always want to hold your token, because the beauty of this is the minimal risk, but we're opening ourselves up to thousands of projects. And maybe one in those thousands of projects is going to be the next Titano. It's going to be the next Sphere. And that will make us millions of dollars off the kind of loans that we would be providing, and the kind of stake in those projects that we would be holding. And we aim to do everything as ethically as possible. So we will be avoiding dumping your chart with absolutely as much as we possibly can, right, while not jeopardizing our current investors. So that is the current system. Our contract should be getting finished around about end of the month for that. So we're pushing this out as fast as we can.
That's very cool. Yeah, I've not heard of that's very cool. So it's kind of, yeah, like a bootstrap launch pad type thing. So yeah, very cool. It's a very unique way to use the treasury too. I like that, instead of just using the treasury to, go invest in the other, like what we've seen in some of the node projects, is they use their treasury, just go invest in all the other node projects. And then when the markets come down, everybody's in trouble. So
yeah, it's, that's the joy. We want to add to this. So the scaling is going to come, there's not much point in holding these things back, really. But what we would like to add is essentially the Amazon of DeFi for developers. So you're going to go to our site and you're going to select KYCs, audits, industry professionals. They're all going to have prices. You literally just add them to your basket. You select a loan amount, post your collateral. We're going to pay all those third parties. They're going to hop on your team, develop the project through, and payment at the end. That is going to it needs work, but that is the goal. And we're rolling out essentially what we view to be stage one. A roadmap will be coming out for all those different stages along the way, because what we feel is identified a huge problem where the bias is on well-funded, well-connected projects to make it in DeFi. And that's not what DeFi is about, right? We think that every developer or every person with a quality idea deserves access to the same resources.
yeah, no,
that's what we try to do.
That's super interesting. That's actually been one of the goals of my channel. Was I don't like when there's projects that are really good, but they're small, and so just people haven't seen them. And I know they would be successful if they got more eyes on them. So that's been one of the things that I've wanted to do with my channel, is like look around for projects that are smaller. Not everybody's, there's not 50,000 YouTubers talking about it yet, but hey, this is cool, and I want eyes on that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some way that you can, add in, James Pelton YouTube AMA or something like that onto your Amazon of new projects or something. Maybe we can work
100%. Like that is exactly what we want to do, right? We want, the guys that have been in our AMAs, they'll have heard me say this before, but what we'd love to do is that like some random person sat in their room that just has that light bulb moment of like, why is no one doing this in DeFi? They can then go there and they can get everything they need to build that out to a quality project. Because like there's no one has it all, right? There's obviously, you can make plenty of jokes obviously about the developers maybe not being the best, community managers, right? And yeah, the bias at the moment is heavily on the people who have already built 50 projects, and whether those projects have been good or whatever, they've got their contacts, they've made their money, they can just churn out another one and it can be terrible. I mean, we've seen many terrible projects succeed, right? And you're like, how are these guys making money? But they are. And then there's some poor guy who's got a genuinely quality idea and no one's interested. So we want to be able to build that through. And the beauty of it is that it's not just that, it's also that everything is then tied into hybrid. So you guys as investors, if you're thinking, okay, well, that's all well and good for those people with the ideas, but what about me as an investor? Well, you're going to be getting so much access to these, not just the financial return on investment, not even just whitelist, but essentially VIP access to every single project that comes through the system. And because we can automate it, that's going to be a ton of them.
Okay, very cool. I do want to bring in some audience questions. I haven't been paying as close of attention as I should. So if you do have questions, please do ask and I'll look those over. First off, I just need to address there's been a lot of people asking if they can have my spreadsheet to track my portfolio. So maybe we can talk about that later. My spreadsheet is not that good. So you should come up with your own because mine is not good. Okay, and that's the answer to that one. So no one else needs to ask about that in the comments. Then there's questions about the launch. So you guys launched yesterday, is that correct? Did you have a pre-sale or anything like that?
Yeah, we had a pre-sale. We sold about just a little bit over 90% in pre-sale, and then we launched yesterday. Yes, a little bit earlier than this.
Okay, so we're still very, very early. Do you want to talk about? We might as well bring it up. Some people have asked about it, and let's just go ahead and bring it up. The chart. You might as well just address it head on. So it looks like it's been doing pretty well since that initial kind of dump at the beginning. Do you have any thoughts as to the chart and how the pre-sale fit into this, and just kind of where we're at?
Oh, I've got a ton of thoughts. Yeah, I mean, look, this is why we are where we are. Is we got absolutely slammed with bots in the launch, right? Um, so we went about launching, and we just to get our liquidity pool seeded in the correct ratio, we seeded one hybrid with $1 worth of AVAX, right? So that we were getting that. We wanted one hybrid to be $1. We seeded that, and before I'd even got confirmation from our Gnosis multi-safe that that transaction had succeeded, that liquidity pool had gone up 72,000%, right? So, bots, right? So we let the bots destroy each other for a while and pull the liquidity on that, and eventually we ended up having to redeploy a exact same token because I couldn't sap all the liquidity because the bots were just trading it back and forth quicker than Trader Joe could ever get a transaction through. So that was an absolute pain. And I guess they were following our developer because once he redeployed and we seeded our liquidity this time with the full 300K liquidity, we also got some bot manipulation going on. So we just before we announced anything, we were in a conference room, AMA, so the community could just see what was going on, and we just let the bots kind of play out for 5-10 minutes until we were back slightly above $1, and then we opened up the pool to people. But the main knock on from the bots is just being the sentiment, which we were obviously working to restore. So we're pushing out our products. We're saying, hey, look, we see what's going on. We're working on it. We've got all of our products coming out. So, if you're terrified, we understand. Just give us a little while to get the ball rolling and get this all back up into the green, right?
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. Those bots are a pain. I never envy teams on launch day just trying to work with that. Like you have to make sure everything goes right, and there's people actively trying to ruin what you're doing, and it's like a war. I do not like that. One thing I do see promising about the chart is in the last 6 hours. So I would expect that with the AMA here that there'll be a lot more buys than sells, just as people are hearing about the project. But even in the last 6 hours, more buys than sells. So that's always like a good thing, I think. For sometimes I look at charts and it's like one buy, 300 sells, and then it's like, that's not too good. So that's actually what I look at, that more than price, especially when the launch was just yesterday. So that's my take on it. But we have a lot of questions from the audience. Let's see. I'm gonna skip through some of these. Can you provide context about your relationship with Jesse Eccles? So with the Obsidian Council, you want to just talk about what you did with them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is part of where our inspiration came for offering these loans out to protocols, right? Because we struggled so heavily to pay the KYC with them, and they were very generous and cut us a bit of a custom deal there. So we were super lucky because the hype that came with Obsidian was huge for our project, right? I think it was we gained about 6,000 members in our Discord that week, and that was kind of where we blew up, right, from like 1K all the way up. And we worked with those guys quite extensively, just back and forth throughout the whole project, and then they were kind enough to come to us with the idea of Obsidian Gold, and asking us to kind of join into that first wave of projects that go through this Obsidian Gold, which is this new level, right? They want to have this hyper exclusive club, maybe not the right word, but group of high quality projects, all kind of working together, right? And I think the way that I tend to look at it is like KYC is, it tells investors you're not a criminal, you're not going to steal all their money, right? But what Obsidian Gold is going to say is, well, these guys are a step above that. They're going to be working for you. They're, working to see their investors win. And then you can add so many other things on top of that, like working more with Jesse. I've been on a call with him, and I get given out to by my co-founders for fanboying, but I'd still underestimated him. He was really interesting and helped us a lot with the marketing that we take and how we portray our vision. Because I think when we were on the call, I was so excited telling him all the ideas that we had, and he's like, "Man, I've looked through all your website, all your Discord, all your docs, and I didn't know any of this, and
Yeah.
he kind of helped how we get those ideas out into the community and everything, right?"
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's actually, well, first off, I need to address, apparently people hear a cat, and that's a big deal. Is that your cat?
That is my cat. Yeah, give me 1 second to grab the door here. All right, that's got to be better.
The questions are coming in are, what's the cat's name? I hear a cat. It's apparently cats are a big deal in the crypto community. So
yeah, God, I've got 2 of them. I found them as kittens, man. This is twice now. I had a huge interview about a year ago, and yeah, I had a cat just going like that. It just destroyed it. I didn't get the job or anything. It was no fun.
Yeah, I had my cat jumped on the back on one of my AMAs. He jumped on the back of my my chair here. So, but what you were just saying about your talk with Jesse, so someone just asked me, James, have you invested in Hybrid? And I have not yet, because I wanted to bring the team on, just because we get so many of these Titano forks, and I just was not like completely sure what the vision was, and what are you trying to do in the future. And so it looked interesting to me because I could tell, okay, they're not trying to just be a Titano fork, but I wasn't like completely clear on what the vision was. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I like to invest in everyone that I have on. So that's the answer to that question. Let's see. So Jimmy wants to know, how will Hybrid pick the projects to invest in? Is there a criteria?
So through the kind of loaning process, we're aiming to have no criteria at all, because there is we are basically so, I pick my words wrong here, but we're barely exposed, all right? Like at all through the system that we have at the moment. It will need more development as we go, but with the current way that it works, the only exposure is once we receive the token. And even then, the way that we reclaim payment in their native token, there's a little bit of a system there before we release collateral. It barely exposes us. We could take some minor, maybe 20% loss on investment maximum, and that's easily sustainable because we're farming the collateral from the point that they deposit it. We will actually be able to survive that almost completely. So there is at the moment, yeah, we look at absolutely no criteria, and this is where the big value in this is because we can just automate it. We can just sit back, and people can just come take out their loans, go and fund their whole projects, and it's just churning away in the background. And I know to some people that'll sound kind of risky or haphazard or like we're not caring, but that is the main issue, I've also spoken to Sim from Sphere about this, and with Jesse in one of our AMAs just after launch, and this is the challenge: is the scalability, and by making it automated, it just opens us up instead of to 10 to 15, but to hundreds, if not thousands, of protocols. That's where the real value is.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think you mentioned the question is, can investors in HPT get whitelist opportunities for the project you help launching?
Interesting. So HPT is one of our bigger competitors on AVAX.
Yes, I think he
Uh,
means hybrid.
yeah, and
Just
they do
specifically
offer
hybrid.
that. I can tell you that. I check out their channel regularly, see how they're doing. For projects you help launching. Oh yeah, so those guys, no, not so much. Unless we partner with them, I don't know. But yeah, so for projects that we're funding, you're gonna get a whole range of non-finance. Well, that is supposedly a financial benefit, but yes, you'll be getting whitelist spots, and many other early opportunities into all of those projects as well. So yeah, yes and no, I guess.
Okay, yes, gotcha. Then Emmanuel or Emanuela wants to know, is there a minimum investment?
Uh, for us into the protocols or into us?
You
Do you
know
know?
what? This is all the context I have. So let's
Yeah, I was asking you, and I was realizing, like, well, it's not his question. So yeah, um,
maybe just pick which one you want to
no,
answer.
we'll do a bit of both, right? So no minimum investment into us. We've seen some tiny transactions go through. We're grateful for anything. Um, Minimum loans wise, no, not at the moment. It doesn't make any difference. Again, it's just the beauty of the way that we're exposed to these projects. It doesn't matter big loan, small loan. We might have to cap them at first just so that if this really takes off, that we don't, suddenly run out of money, because it will take a couple of months before we start to get the first wins, and then from there it'll just be like a perpetuating cycle, right? But no minimums, no.
Okay, and let me kind of answer. So for people who want to get involved, because this is a pretty common question. How do you buy hybrid? So I'm just going to kind of show you. There's a big button there. You buy here. It's on Trader Joe, and then you're going to need to set your slippage. Some people are saying you can't buy hybrid with AVAX. That's probably not true. I need to even connect my wallet. I need to switch to AVAX too. There's so many things. You need to make sure you're on AVAX. The problem might have been that you need to set your slippage. Do you know what you need to set your slippage as for this to go
11
through?
to 12 should do it.
Okay, so you set it to, like, we'll just say 12 to be safe. And then sometimes Trader Joe is sometimes slow. Usually this goes away because you can trade AVAX, right? Yeah, see,
You can't, yeah.
Trader
Sometimes,
Joe's is slow. There we go.
yeah, there we go.
So that's all you need to do is you just need to, if you're having troubles, usually it's because there's a buy tax and a sell tax, you need to raise your slippage. For those of you who are having problems buying it, that's all you need to do is set your slippage a little bit higher. And the same thing if you're going to sell, although you should never sell, right? But if you do, it's the same thing. Is you just need to. Some people say, "Oh, it's a honeypot. You can't ever sell," but you just need to set. Do you know what your slippage needs to be for sell?
We take a 15% tax, so 16 to 17 should do the trick.
Okay, so yeah, just set it to 16, and then you should be able to buy and sell easily. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the more volatile, right, you might need to add 2% or something on top of the taxes, but at the moment, you should be good with 1% more, 2% more than the tax, which, yeah, 10% on buys, 15% on sells, right?
yes. Okay, Papa Big Mac. Who are the projects that will be accepting your tokens from these loans? You will be giving out other projects in Obsidian Gold.
Yeah, this is what's really going to determine whether our system is big or massive, right? Our goal is to bring it so that it's not even just protocols, but it's people, right? You're like developers that you're hiring. They're like, we want to be paid in this, because it should take off really well in terms of the third party contractors that we'll be using. So the answer right now is I'm not fully sure. I need to get contacting them, but it adds absolutely no risk for them. And it also kind of makes it even easier because they could transact these over before they, because it's like something that you've got as a loan, you'll be more than happy to use this as upfront payment. And because we will have agreements with, say for example, we use Solidity Finance. That is solely an example. I will be contacting them, but nothing back yet. Then you'll be able to trust them completely, and they'll understand the whole system. So you can just send over for the audit, and it's all just nice and comfortable. Everyone knows what's going on, and everyone can trust each other. So it should be widely used. And what we will be pushing is grows and grows is to get discounts, right? So we can say, hey, well, you could pay this for your audit, but if you come through our system, first of all, you don't even have to use your money, and you're going to get 10% discount, right? Because of the amount of traffic that we will be bringing those projects, those products, right?
Correct. Okay, very cool. And then just to clarify, the taxes are what's the buy and sell tax?
10% on buys, 15% on sells.
Yeah, so not 25% tax, 10% buy, 15% sell, and that's
Yeah.
pretty standard among and that's just a tokenomic way of keeping the treasury full, and helping have a treasury. It's just a tokenomic measure.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously there's projects that don't have that, but I mean, really the norm now is to take, those buy and sell fees. They have generated us, a very large amount. In fact, the bot manipulation, absolutely, yeah, we gained, I think, over 60,000 from the bots. So it's pretty helpful. And definitely, as you start to see green, then suddenly you're like, "Nah, I don't really care anymore," and
Yeah.
you're taking your profits and everything. So
Yeah, can I ask you? So one thing I've thought about from running a project, if you don't have a buy and sell tax, then really you only your treasury is only filled up at the beginning of the project, right? On the initial offering, and you never really there's no way to generate more revenue going forward, right?
yeah, you see, this is what people sometimes don't realize until you're like on the other side of it, and you're like, "Oh my god, how do we make any money?" Um, the obvious answer to that is bonding, and I mean, I don't think anyone really likes bonding anymore. I would drastically prefer the sales, the taxes, because then you're like, okay, I'm paying this, I'm paying that, and that's done. It's not like, hang on a minute, I'm slowly getting what do they call it, diluted by all of these guys who are bonding in. And then it's like, all right, I'll bond in. And then suddenly you've done it at the wrong time. And now your bond is like negative APR. And you're like, oh man, this is so tough. At least with this, you just know and it's done. And you're not getting affected in the background without knowing it. Like you are with bonds, which may appear more appealing, although I think they have really died out now. They can often be counterproductive, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can you shed some light on the front end rebranding?
Yeah, this is something that we've been talking a lot about in our channel, and it's got mixed feedback, and that's partly due to my poor announcement skills. So a lot of people who are whitelisted with us and have been around for a long time, they're going, "Well, hang on a minute, why are you rebranding?" So no, if you're familiar with the project, we're not rebranding. What we're trying to do is get through to new investors, new people coming in, what you guys already know. So, James, you put it perfectly when you're saying about whether or not you had bought in or not. You're like, I just want to see from these guys because you weren't quite sure, right? And that's the case with so many people we find coming into our channel is they're not quite sure, and that's because our marketing and our branding is not specific enough with the vision that we've just talked about. So not so much like rebranding, it's still the same product to you guys that know it, but for you guys that maybe are a little bit newer, it's going to be way more clear what we're all about and where the value is for you guys as holders.
Yeah, no, but I think from my perspective, again, take it or leave it. But yeah, the more you can separate away from the Titano forks, like I get emails about 25 of those a day, probably. So the more you can separate yourself from those, probably from my perspective, the better that the project will be. Like the stuff we talked about today, I'm a lot more excited about than Titano fork stuff, type stuff, you know? So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is where we're also having issues with our chart, is because the kind of investors that we had, well, not all of them, but some, were like, they were here because they're like, oh, Titano Fork, uh, Titano 10x, this 10x, hybrid 10x, right? And that's not us. While we're not obviously aiming for the chart to grow as much as we can, we're not here for the pump and dump. And so I think a decent portion of our community was, and that's where we're seeing the sell off now. So while word, um, it's okay. We can build from it. We're essentially doing that. Yeah, I suppose not rebranding, but that remarketing, so to speak, to now bring in the type of investor that is interested in what we're building. So it's just about kind of targeting the right audiences a little bit more so than we have been doing so far.
Gotcha. And then we talked a little bit about this earlier, but any plans to partner with HPT?
uh, I don't have anything in mind at the moment. Um, like we were before launch, we were looking at those guys like, oh God bless them, that's a tricky time, and now we're right in it ourselves. So we've got a whole nother level of empathy for them. So
Yeah.
it's a tricky time for these projects because we're all in that race to separate ourselves, you know, and I almost feel like there's a little bit of a delay in the sense that people who are really in the space are seeing the downfall that's to come, and actually some retail investors aren't. And so we're all like, oh, we're not like them, we're not like them, we're not like them. And then retail's like, what, why not? This is awesome, we're
Yeah.
still
No,
enjoying
totally
this.
get that. Yep.
um and so while that can feel a bit funny now, that's going to be huge in a few months when retail start to go, oh, hang on a minute, I want to be with this new generation. And that's what the kind of Sphere is pioneering, right? And everyone's like, oh my god, Sphere. And so I think the next kind of trend is going to be, hopefully, please God, projects that solve problems,
Yeah.
because that's the value. That's what makes you hang around in 8 months' time, 9 months' time, a year's time. And it's just good for the space, right? That's what we want to do. Is we're improving the space that we're all in together. That's the plan, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have to look at, I always talk about on my channel, there's DGen and there's DeFi, and you have to really consider what type of project you're looking to get into. Are you looking to get into these quick, get profits in a few days and then get your money out? Or are you looking for, hey, I want to invest and I want an income that lasts for, years to come? And you really have to be clear in your mind. And if you're looking for a DeFi, like a long-term investment, then the daily chart is not really what you should be looking at. You shouldn't be looking at the 5-minute chart, trying to figure out what's going on. So you should look at the utility behind what they're doing. And so, yeah, I think that was a good answer. What are the safety measures taken if a project is not able to pay back the loan amount? Do you have loan sharks?
We have collateral, so they don't pay it back. That is absolutely no problem with us. We have collateral. Not only that, we've even sat there farming away on it. It's not been put to waste. Yeah, there no issue. If you want to do that, it's a shame. You're just taking up money for a little while that could be someone else's, but nope, that's no issue.
Yeah, and that ties into, will these loans be over or under collateralized?
Uh, it's something that we're looking at because what we'd like to do is try and bootstrap it a little bit by you being able to loan out a little bit more than you post for collateral, and we can do that through the farming yield and a few other kind of, if we can try and cut some costs in some other areas, we might be able to do that, just to really incentivize projects to start using it. And then once projects really start using it, that's when we can then also go to the third parties and say, look how much traffic we're getting. And then they're going to start to cut us good deals. And it's just going to self kind of perpetuate from there on, right? So we can get better and better and better deals, so on and so forth.
Yes. And then just to verify, you guys are not going to do bonding, correct?
No plans to do bonding at the moment. We are never close to a good idea, right? So if someone can go, hey, you guys should be bonding like this, And if I look at it and the team looks at it and we're like, "Whoa, yeah, we should," then definitely, yeah. Our
Okay.
DMs are always open.
Yep. All right. So for now, the treasury is filled with buy and sell tax. So yeah, no bonds as of right now.
Yep.
Um, let's see. So are you willing? Are you going to be like legally certified to get audits and things like that? You have plans to do that?
Uh, Legally certified. Not at the moment. Just for reference, so the audits that they would be using would be provided by a third party, right? So, I don't think so. I was looking into the legality of kind of the loaning side, but it should, yeah. I don't think something like that would be necessary at all because of the nature of the way that they're posting collateral, which is kind of almost like staking mechanism. It's not really that much of an issue.
Okay, so you guys aren't looking to provide all these services to these startups. You're looking to kind of connect them and provide the funding for a lot of these, but like you wouldn't be actually doing the KYC or the audits or things like that.
Nope, not at all. Not our area. What we're trying to do is we believe that these fairly pricey services, now rightly so pricey services, should be available to anyone, right? Particularly the bare essentials like KYC and audit, where um, you have to do them. Investors want to see them. Makes sense. So it's a bit of a shame that yeah, they're so expensive, and so that does limit protocols because if you can't get a KYC, if you can't get an audit, you really do have no chance. So yeah, that's where we come in. Is a nice way to do the funding and without having we don't want to put too big of an axe over the head of the developer. A bridging loan is another option, but that is a serious kind of axe over your head, and you're having to pay it back um, in stables and everything. So it's really tricky. Versus this way, where you can bet on yourself. Basically, that's what you're doing, right? You're saying, yeah, you know what? When I launch, I will be able to pay that, and it's in the token and everything. So we're trying to make it with those people in mind, right? The people who are using it in mind and making it as good for them as possible while tying to hybrid.
All right. And next question, are rebates is running currently?
Yep, our first one came out just like 2 hours ago. It was a bit of a nail biter. We were like counting down the timing, like this better work, right? And sure enough, it went through because our rebases started 24 hours after our launch, just to make sure that everyone who was redeeming pre-sale tokens could start off on Rebase One together, and someone didn't get like a day's more rebases than someone else, right? As my colleague put it, we don't pick favorites here.
Yeah, gotcha. And have you considered a CertIC audit?
Yes, we have. The audit came about. We actually weren't going to get an audit pre-launch because we were so heavily forking the contract, and then I mean right before launch we've kind of been saying like no audit, no audit, and then right before launch everyone was like, wait, no audit? What? You can't do that. And we were like, oh man, okay. So we agreed to a post-launch audit, and we were very lucky. We worked really hard to get it done pre-launch by Solidity, just because they would be so quick. So that's why we didn't go with CertIC. And they did a very good job. And the audit report is public, of course. So you can go and check out what they're saying about it. But we might look into it. We'll be getting our accelerator fund project contracts audited, so that may well be a CertIC audit for that.
Okay, very cool. Does anybody else have any questions? We got here. What would be the collateral for the loan? Would it be? Do you want to just maybe explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's stable tokens. So USDC or probably USDCE, just to make that a little bit more bridgeable. What else do they go on to say? Loan or sunlight. Yeah, no, it'd be stables. And it's just the easiest way. We can then throw it straight into our farming pool, get farming on it immediately. We know exactly the dollar value that we're putting in, and essentially it can just kick out a one-to-one of our payment token then that they can go off and use to pay expenses, right? It just drastically simplifies the process.
Okay. And for those of you just joining, we had some people just hop in. So this is Hybrid Finance, and I put the link down in the comments. And it's kind of it's called Hybrid because it says it uses a unique blend of two tried and tested methods of revenue generation. So on one hand, they're doing the like Titano fork with buy and sell tax and building the treasury that way. And on the other hand, they're using their treasury for some farming and then also for this upcoming, what do you call it? A launch pad or launch helper
Yeah,
service? Or do you have a name for it?
a notepad here with just about every synonym for Kickstarter you can find, and at the moment we're going with Accelerator Fund, but that could change. But we've been calling it incubator for so long, and the issue is that there's so many of those, and they all have the kind of thing in common where it's just something projects throw on the end to basically say, yeah, we're buying up some seed round investment and then we're dumping it when we can, right? Obviously, there's
Right.
often a bit of vesting, but it's done in the sense of like, oh, seed round, we can get 10x's. Yeah, let's do that. It's not done as what we're coming at it from is we want to help projects. That's what it's built around. And then it's like, okay, well, we can't be overexposed and we want to tie this in. Where's the mutual wins, basically? But it's
Yeah.
built from this is the problem in DeFi that we see is this bias of well-funded, well-connected protocols. How can we change that? Well, this is how we can start, and then we find the mutual wins from there.
Yeah. Do you have thoughts on, so just when you use the word incubator or accelerator or something like that, are you more targeting companies who have already, or projects that have already started and you're looking to help them grow? Or are you looking to kind of get projects from idea to launching? Which of those two do you feel like you're more after?
We are 100% after the idea to launch. And that's where we're going to be adding in all of those other products so that eventually you're looking at, let's say, I mean, definitely within hopefully 4 to 5 months, you're looking at a literal like one-stop shop for absolutely everything from I've got this idea to, oh, well, now you're listed on Trader Joe, like personnel, connections, marketing, exposure, community, trust, audits, KYC, obviously those being outsourced. But yeah, like literally everything. And so then hybrid finance is going to be the place that everyone wants to go to develop their project, right? And because we're going to hopefully very quickly build a name for ourselves as ethical and as quality, trustworthy. It's not that project that I know a lot of guys have issues with a certain pre-sale company where they basically keep dumping all of your tokens right after your launch and it like screws the sentiment. That's not what we're doing. We're aiming to hold your token as long as we possibly can, right? And we do that by limiting our exposure, doing it in a sensible way from the start so that we can expose ourselves to those potential massive wins without harming the protocol itself.
Okay, very cool. And then there's a question from Papa Big Mac again. Where will the NFT launch fit into the project? And what is the real life utility they have teased?
All right. So this NFT has been coming on in the background. So this is something that one of my colleagues came up with on a call quite a while back. He was like, at the end of the call, he's like, "Oh, I've got this idea about NFTs." And we're like, "All right, whatever." And he ran us through it, and we were like, "Oh my god!" So this is why we've teased it. Is it's basically all right, I'm gonna dump a little bit of info here. My co-founders are probably like, "Oh my god, can someone like disconnect him quickly?"
That's what we do on my AMAs. Is we
Yeah,
talk
no,
about things we're not supposed to talk about.
all right. So NFT project, we're going to tie in our token, basically in a deflationary mechanism, so that you're getting your NFTs kind of potentially through like a burn to mint type mechanism. All pretty boring, but essentially, it's going to be called. This is coming out in a video at the end of the week, so I'm allowed to say this probably. Hybrid destinations, right? And you can kind of guess at a real world utility in there from the name. Okay, so real world hybrid destinations, you can go from there. Yeah, you can see the guys commenting there. So that's part of it. And yeah, there's going to be the joy to this is that we're taking hybrid holders. They're going to be getting in on this for a couple of different reasons. And so many NFT holders are going to be getting in on this. And so they're going to have to come through our ecosystem as well and benefit you guys as holders again. It's all kind of super exciting. And yeah, I see a lot of travel talk in there. But yeah, that's basically where we're going. It gets a little tricky because there's some crypto to fiat going on there, but I think we've got a workaround for that. So it's super exciting. These are going to be really high quality NFTs, local artists, things like that. So it's really exciting. It's really a standalone project, but the beauty of it is we can tie it all in.
Very cool. Yeah, so a little alpha here today. So that sounds pretty cool. Then do you just want to talk about, we kind of talked a little bit about it off air, but the DApp maybe having some problems, or the dashboard, do you just want to address that real quick and just let people know that you're on it?
Yeah, no, for sure. There's it hasn't been smooth, James. I'll tell you, it's not been smooth. Except for our rebasing, that was crystal smooth. Backend was smooth, let's say. But yeah, we're working on it. The DApp had some issues, so even when you opened up our website there on your screen, you see that rain effect, which we had that in the DApp as well. And if you're trying to look at the numbers and stuff, it wasn't nice on your eyes. Yeah, so we had that. Coupled with squinting at it, it wasn't nice. So we've changed that, and we had a few integration issues with the backend, but it should mostly be fixed. The main issue is that to get the fixes, you just got to clear your browser cache. So that's a little bit of important info for you guys. Just hop into your browser, clear the cache, and next time you reload the website, everything should kind of be working there. Our Discord has got all the links as well. So if you want to hop over onto Dex Screener, there's all of that info just the same over there as well, and it's all working good. But the DApp is top of the priority, but it should be mostly fixed at the moment, and website is getting a little bit of a new look as well coming to it. I suppose a new look's the wrong way to do it, but a little bit of clarification. Let's
okay, very cool. Then maybe last question, and then we probably better wrap up here pretty quickly. But will projects be able to launch on any chain and have access to the loans, or are you going to limit to AVAX or BSC?
Nope, we're going to be everywhere. And again, that's going back to both the vision of helping as much as possible in the space. There's no reason that there should be a bias for AVAX, and also it opens us up to so many more projects, right? And one of my co-founders is obsessed with the chain Metis. If you're familiar, he's like so super hyped on that, and he's like, we got to get over there. And I actually, when I was designing this, I was like, this is something that would work really well on those newer chains. It would suit those kind of projects really, really well, because you got so many new ideas coming out over there. That's exactly where we need to be. So yeah, if it's a blockchain, we will be on it.
If it's a blockchain, we'll be on it. That's awesome. I like that. Well, hey, thank you so much, Solo, for hopping on and just walking through this with us again. I was curious about it when I first heard about it, but I was still not totally sure what's the vision here. And so I think what you talked about today made a lot of sense. Again, if you're interested in buying, I'm going to just show you the website again real quick. There we go. Just go to buy hybrid. You're just going to need some AVAX that you can buy. You can buy AVAX anywhere now. It's very nice. But you just buy some AVAX, send it to your MetaMask wallet, head over to Trader Joe. You're going to need to set your slippage at like 13 or so to buy, or 12 or 11, somewhere around there. And then you just buy, and you can swap there. And then the nice thing about these tokens is you don't have to do anything else. You just sit in your wallet and watch the rebases come in. So in a lot of ways, you don't even need the DApp, really, right? Like, it doesn't really do a whole lot, I suppose. So, but yeah, very cool. So thank you. I want to thank the audience for coming and just listening. And again, we couldn't do AMAs and talk through projects if you guys didn't come and watch. So really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you, Solo, for hopping on and walking through things.
It's been a pleasure, and you've set us off on a lovely little uptrend just while we've been talking. Our chart is just like it's just going the other way now. So we're going to back this up with some solid announcements now, and we kind of said to our community, we gave ourselves a little bit of a ultimatum, saying, by Monday, if you guys aren't sold on this, then there's issues. But we've got so many big ideas coming out. Like this is, I mean, like this is just the start, particularly from my end of like building this out. It's like, oh, finally, I've got a treasury to work. I've got a growth fund to work with. No more like tiny budget, out of pocket kind of payment. Um, the joy to this project has always been. I'll try not to go off on a rant right at the end,
No, you're
but
good.
is we've never been short of ideas. I feel like some projects are kind of like they launch and then it's just like, yeah, this is us. As we're like, oh, we want to build all this. We just need this or we need that. It's like now we have it all. So I'm a bit like a kid in a candy store. It's like, really, I can have all this. I can build this. So there's going to be no end to exciting information coming out over the next few weeks.
That's awesome. Well, feel free to send over if you need me to help retweet things or anything like that. Just to now that my audience knows about the project, I like to just keep sending retweets. Hey, remember we had this team on? Now they're doing this, they're doing that. So yeah, would love to do that.
Yeah, we would appreciate that, and we really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with us. And yeah, I mean, there wasn't even any really horrific questions. I'm like, I feel
No,
like I've gotten off easily.
Yeah, they took it pretty easy on you guys, I have to say.
For sure, yeah, no, but hey, look, we love those tricky questions too. That's what makes a good project, right?
Yep.
It's all those people asking the tricky ones.
That's right. Well, hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And thank you, audience. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Awesome. Thank you so much.